They grabbed my arms and pushed me down a cold hallway as if I was a dangerous criminal. My son, Eric, stood behind them with his wife, Dana, smiling like they had just won a prize. Dana leaned close and laughed. "Rot in prison, old woman. Everything you own is ours now." I tried to speak, but one guard shoved me harder. When the cell door finally slammed, the warden stepped in to lock it. His eyes dropped to my hand. He froze. He stared at the ring on my finger, leaned in close, and whispered, "Tonight, you will understand. Keep your head up. Do not say a word." Then he walked away like he had never spoken, leaving me in the dark with my heart pounding and my son's laughter still echoing in my ears. My name is Margaret Hale. Most people call me Grandma Maggie. I am 69 years old. I bake for church, I water my little garden, and I have lived in the same town for almost my whole life. I never thought I would end up behind bars. I never thought my own child would be the reason. It started with my house. My house was not fancy, but it was mine. I bought it with my late husband, James. We worked hard. He fixed cars. I worked at the local school kitchen. We saved small money for many years. We raised Eric there. We took care of him when he had fever. We cheered when he won school races. We cried when he left for college. We prayed for him when he was lost. The house was full of memories, and every wall had a story. After my husband died, the house became quiet. Some days, the silence felt heavy, but it also felt safe. It was the one place where I could breathe and remember him without anyone rushing me. Eric visited more often after his father passed. At first, I was grateful. He would bring groceries and ask, "Mom, are you okay?" Dana would come too, dressed sharp, smiling sweet, calling me Mama Maggie in a sugary voice. But I noticed small things. Dana would walk around the house like she was measuring it with her eyes. She would open cabinets, look at the backyard, glance at the carport. When she thought I was not looking, she would whisper to Eric. I did not hear every word, but I caught enough. "This place is worth a lot. If you sell, we can move up. Why should it sit here with her alone?" One day, Eric brought papers. He sat at my kitchen table and pushed a folder toward me. "Mom, this is just to help you. A small legal thing. It makes it easier if anything happens." I picked up the folder and adjusted my glasses. The words were complicated. I felt embarrassed because I did not understand everything. Eric smiled like a patient teacher. Dana nodded, acting concerned. "It's normal," Dana said. "People your age do it. It's called being wise." I trusted my son. He was my child. I thought, why would he hurt me? I signed one page, not because I understood it, but because I believed him. That was my first mistake. A week later, I tried to withdraw money from my account to pay for a roof repair. The bank clerk frowned at her computer. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Hale," she said gently. "This account has a new authorized person." I blinked. New authorized person. She looked up at me, confused. "Your son, Eric Hale." My stomach turned. I did not add him. The clerk lowered her voice. "It was filed 2 weeks ago." I walked out of the bank feeling like the ground was not steady. I sat in my car and stared at my hands on the steering wheel. My ring flashed in the sunlight, and I remembered my husband's voice from years ago. "Maggie, always read what you sign, even if it's family." I should have listened. That night, I called Eric. He answered quickly, too quickly, like he had been waiting. "Mom, what's wrong?" I tried to stay calm. "Why are you on my account?" There was a pause. Then his voice changed, becoming firm. "It's for your safety." "My safety," I repeated. "Then why did you not tell me?" Dana's voice came in the background, sharp like a knife. "Because you would overthink it." I felt heat rise in my chest. "Dana, this is not your place." Eric cut in. "Mom, don't start. We are helping you." Helping? That word sounded strange coming from him now. Cold. Like a label he used so he could do what he wanted and still feel good about it. The next morning, I went to see a local lawyer, Mr. Ruiz, who had known my husband. He listened carefully and then asked to see the documents Eric had given me. When I showed him, his face tightened. "Mrs. Hale," he said, "this is not a simple helper document." My mouth went dry. "What is it?" It looks like a property transfer authorization tied to a power of attorney arrangement, he explained slowly. If executed fully, it could allow him to sell or mortgage your home. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest, but I never agreed to that. Mr. Ruiz leaned forward. Did you read this page before signing? I swallowed. No, I trusted him. He nodded sadly. Trust is good. Blind trust is dangerous. I left his office shaking. I wanted to drive straight to Eric's house and demand answers. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. Instead, I did something quiet. I went home and locked my doors. That evening, Eric came over with Dana. They did not knock like normal people. Eric used his key. His key. I stared as he walked in like the house belonged to him. Mom, he said, smiling too wide, why are you acting strange? I stood by my living room chair and kept my voice steady. Give me back my house key. Dana laughed. Oh, please, don't be dramatic. Eric walked closer. Mom, you're getting confused. You signed things. I pointed at the folder on my table. I signed one page and you hid the truth. That is not help. That is trickery. Eric's smile faded. Mom, you're making it hard. I felt tears come, but I swallowed them. Hard for who? For you to take what is mine. Dana stepped forward, eyes bright with anger. You're selfish. You're sitting on wealth while your son struggles. I looked at her and felt a painful truth. This was never about helping me. It was about grabbing my life and calling it family planning. I said, if you are struggling, you ask, you do not steal. Dana's face changed. She turned to Eric. She won't cooperate. Cooperate, like I was a stubborn animal. Eric rubbed his forehead. Mom, please, we can do this the easy way. What's the easy way? I asked. He hesitated, then smiled again. Just sign the rest. Transfer the home. We will take care of you. You can move into a small place. We will pay for it. A small place. Like my life could be folded up and stored away. I shook my head. No. Dana's voice dropped low. Then we will do it the other way. I stared. What other way? Dana smiled. The way you deserve. They left that night and I thought it was over. I was wrong. 2 days later, a police car pulled up in front of my house. 2 officers stepped out. Mrs. Margaret Hale, one asked. Yes, I replied, confused. You are under arrest for fraud and theft, the officer said. I laughed once because it sounded so impossible. Fraud, theft, are you joking? They were not joking. They said there were claims that I had taken money from Eric and Dana using false documents and that I had threatened them. They said there was evidence, signed statements, bank records, a report. My legs went weak. This is a lie. The officer looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, please turn around. I looked past them and saw Eric and Dana standing across the street, watching. Dana was smiling. Eric was not smiling, but he was not stopping it either. He looked like he had chosen his side. When the handcuffs clicked, I felt my heart break in a way that was worse than grief. This was betrayal by blood. They dragged me to a holding cell. Eric and Dana laughed and told me to rot. They believed the door closing would end me. But the warden saw my ring. And he whispered, "Tonight you will understand." The cell smelled like old cement and cold fear. I sat on a narrow bench and pressed my hands together, trying to stop them from shaking. Around me, other people waited with tired eyes. Some were angry, some were quiet. Everyone looked trapped. I kept thinking about Eric's face. I kept hearing Dana's laugh. I kept seeing the police officer's eyes, the way he avoided looking at me like he felt ashamed. Time moved slowly in that cell. Minutes felt like hours. After a while, a guard opened the door and called my name. Hale, stand up. My heart jumped. I thought they were taking me deeper into the system. I stood, trying to appear calm. The guard led me down another hallway and stopped near an office door. The sign said Warden. He knocked once and opened it. Inside, the warden sat behind a desk. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and steady eyes, the same eyes that had fixed on my ring earlier. "Mrs. Hale," he said, calm, "sit down." I sat slowly. He leaned forward and lowered his voice. "That ring on your hand. Where did you get it?" I glanced down at the ring. It was gold, simple but heavy. My husband gave it to me on our 25th anniversary. Inside, it was an engraved mark, a small crest. "My husband," I said. "Why?" The warden's eyes narrowed. "Your husband, James Hale, worked at the old auto shop." I nodded. He exhaled. I knew him, not personally, but I knew of him. He stood and walked to a small cabinet. He opened it and pulled out a framed photo. It showed a younger man standing with a group of people. One of them was my husband. Another was a man in a uniform, smiling, holding a plaque. The warden pointed. "That man in uniform is my father." My throat tightened. "Your father?" The warden nodded. "He was a deputy chief years ago. Your husband once helped him in a case that saved my father's career." I stared at the photo. I did not know the details. My husband never talked much about his good deeds. He just did them and came home like it was normal. The warden set the photo down and looked at me. "Mrs. Hale, I don't know why you are here, but something feels wrong. The paperwork brought to my desk is messy. The tone is strange. And you do not look like a woman who steals from her own child for fun." My eyes burned. "I did not do it. They are trying to take my home." His jaw tightened. "Tell me everything slowly." So I did. I told him about the documents, the bank account, the key, the threats, the arrest. When I finished, the warden sat quietly for a moment. Then he said, "The words I whispered earlier, I meant this. Tonight, you will understand you are not alone in this building." I blinked. "What does that mean?" He opened a drawer and pulled out a file. "There is also something else." He slid it across to me. "Look." I read the top page. It was a property listing draft. My address was on it. The asking price was written boldly. There were notes about quick sale, fast closing. My stomach dropped. They already planned to sell. The warden nodded. "They filed a request to retrieve your personal property from your home, claiming you will be in custody for a long time." I felt sick. "So they can empty my house?" "Yes," he said, "and they think no one will stop them." I held my head with my hands. How can my own son do this? The warden spoke carefully. "Greed does not care about blood. Greed only cares about winning." That sentence hit me hard because it was true. Then he said, "Mrs. Hale, I will not break the law for you, but I can ensure your rights are not crushed. There is a legal process, and I can connect you to people who will look at this properly." My voice shook. "Do you believe me?" He met my eyes. "I believe something is not right, and I believe your ring is not just jewelry. It is a reminder that some families once did the right thing. I intend to do the right thing tonight." He pressed a button on his desk and called in a staff member, a woman with a professional look and a notebook. "This is Ms. Carter," he said. "She is the facility's legal liaison." Ms. Carter nodded at me kindly. "Mrs. Hale." The warden said, "Ms. Carter, I want you to review this arrest and the claims. Immediately. Also, call the public defender's office and request the on-call attorney. This woman needs counsel tonight." Ms. Carter wrote quickly, "Understood." My heart pounded. For the first time since the handcuffs, I felt a small spark of hope. But fear still lived in me. What if Eric and Dana come here? What if they keep lying? The warden's face hardened. "They can lie, but lies collapse when faced with records." He pointed at my hands. "Do you still have your phone?" "No," I said. "They took it." He nodded. "We will request it. Also, do you have proof, any proof that they tricked you?" I swallowed. "Mr. Ruiz, the lawyer, saw the papers." "Good," the warden said. "We will contact him." He leaned in slightly. "Mrs. Hale, I will also tell you something you must understand. There are people who get pushed into cells like this because someone wants their property. It happens more than people think. They count on fear. They count on silence." I swallowed hard. He continued, "Your job tonight is to stay calm. Do not sign anything. Do not argue with guards. Speak only to your lawyer and Ms. Carter. If your son sends someone, if anyone offers you a deal, you say no. I nodded. Ms. Carter stood. Mrs. Hale, we will meet with the attorney soon. The warden opened the office door for me. As the guard led me back, the warden called after me, low and firm, "Hold on. The night is not over." When I returned to the holding area, the mood felt even heavier. I sat again on the bench and stared at my ring. It was the same ring my husband had placed on my hand with love. Now it was a quiet signal, a key that opened a door I did not know existed. Hours passed. Then a guard called my name again. This time, Ms. Carter stood with a man in a suit. He carried a briefcase and looked tired but sharp. "Mrs. Hale," he said, "I'm Attorney Blake. I'm here to help." I nearly cried. He sat with me and asked questions, clear and careful. He took notes. He requested the arrest report. He requested bank records. He requested the claimed evidence. Then he asked one question that made my stomach twist again. "Do you have any idea how they filed this complaint so fast?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" Attorney Blake's eyes narrowed. "It suggests inside support. Someone helped them push it through quickly." My mouth opened, then closed. My mind raced. Inside support meant someone in the police office, someone in the legal system, someone connected. Dana had once bragged at a family dinner about her friends in important places. I had laughed politely and ignored it. Now it was not funny. Attorney Blake looked at me. "Mrs. Hale, this may be bigger than your son and his wife. Someone may be using the system to help them steal." My throat went dry. A moment later, the guard opened the door again and said, "Visitor." "Visitor." I looked up, confused and scared. The guard said, "A woman says she is family." My heart sank. "Dana." Or someone sent by Dana. The guard said, "She insists." Attorney Blake stood and held up a hand. "Mrs. Hale will not speak without me. Bring the visitor to the interview room." They moved me to a small room with a table and chairs. The door opened. It was not Dana. It was my granddaughter, Emily. Her eyes were red. She rushed toward me and I stood, shocked. "Grandma," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know what Dad was doing." My knees nearly gave out. Emily was 16, bright, kind, and often caught between her father and Dana. Seeing her here meant one thing. The story was spilling out into the open. And maybe Emily had something important to say. Emily held my hands tightly, like she was afraid I would disappear. I looked at her face and saw fear mixed with guilt. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "how did you get here?" Her voice shook. "I took Mom's old car. I didn't tell Dad. He thinks I'm at a school project." My heart squeezed. "You should not be driving around at night alone." "I had to," she whispered. "Grandma, they are doing something terrible." Attorney Blake sat quietly watching. "Emily, tell us what you know." Emily swallowed hard. "I heard them talking, Dad and Dana. They thought I was asleep." She looked at me. "Grandma, they planned this. They said if you go to jail, the house becomes easier to take. Dana said the police report would scare you. Dad said you would sign anything to get out." My hands trembled. Emily continued, voice faster now. "Dana has your phone. She was going through it. She said she would delete messages and make it look like you were confused. She also said she already contacted someone in the records office." Attorney Blake's face tightened. "Did she say who?" Emily shook her head. "She called him Troy. She said Troy owes her." That name meant nothing to me, but it meant something to Attorney Blake. I saw it in his eyes. He wrote it down. "Emily, did you see any documents?" Emily nodded quickly. "Yes, on the table. There was a paper that said listing agreement, your house, your address, and another paper that said temporary guardianship." I blinked. "Guardianship." Emily's voice broke. "They want to claim you are not mentally okay. Dana said it will make it legal to take control." I felt like the air had been punched out of my chest. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would my own son do this?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Dana keeps saying you are holding them back. Dad listens to her. He used to be different, but now he is angry all the time. This was the low moment, the quiet truth. Sometimes people change because they want an easy life more than they want a clean heart. Attorney Blake leaned forward. Emily, are you willing to tell this to an investigator? Emily looked scared. Will my dad hate me? I held her hand tighter. Sweetheart, doing the right thing is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Emily nodded slowly. Yes, I will. Attorney Blake exhaled. Good, we will file a statement. Emily then leaned closer to me. Grandma, there is something else. I felt my stomach tighten. What? Emily whispered. They are not just trying to take the house. Dana said your husband hid something valuable. She said the ring proves it. My eyes widened. The ring. I touched it. What does she think it proves? Emily shook her head. I don't know, but she kept saying, that ring is the key. That old man was not stupid. My heart pounded. My husband had been a quiet man, but he was careful. He kept records. He kept receipts. He kept things organized. After he died, I found boxes of papers I never looked through because grief made me tired. Could there be something he left behind that Dana wanted? Attorney Blake's voice was calm but sharp. Mrs. Hale, did your husband have any safe deposit box, any storage unit, any sealed envelope, anything like that? I blinked slowly as memory stirred. There was one thing. A small metal box in the closet. James had told me, if anything ever happens, you give this to the right person, not just anyone. At the time, I had laughed and called him dramatic. He only smiled and said, promise me. I had promised. I never opened it. Now my skin prickled. Dana somehow knew about it. How would she know? I whispered. Emily gave a small, ashamed shrug. Dana went through Dad's old things. She reads everything. She also asked me weird questions about Grandpa. She asked if he had friends in law enforcement. Attorney Blake tapped his pen. This is bigger than property theft. If they are forging guardianship and using the police system, that is serious. My throat tightened. So what happens now? He leaned back. Now we fight with facts. He stood and asked a guard to bring forms. He took Emily's statement immediately, carefully. Emily signed it. Then he requested a restraining order request against Eric and Dana based on threats and evidence manipulation. When Emily finished, she looked at me with watery eyes. Grandma, I am scared. I pulled her into my arms. So am I, but we can be scared and still be brave. After Emily left with a social worker who would ensure she got home safely, I sat alone again and stared at my hands. Then the warden appeared at the door of the interview room. He looked serious. Mrs. Hale, we found something. My heart jumped. What? He handed Attorney Blake a printed report. The time stamp on the complaint filing is strange. It shows it was entered before the officer claims he took the statement. Attorney Blake's eyes sharpened. That suggests pre-filing. The warden nodded. Exactly, someone prepared it early. He looked at me. And there is another detail. The officer who arrested you has a known connection to a man named Troy. Attorney Blake's jaw tightened. So Emily's name matches. The warden continued. We also have surveillance footage from outside your home. We requested it from a neighbor who has a camera. It shows your son and his wife at your door earlier that day, carrying folders. They were there long before the police arrived. My stomach turned. They planned it from morning. The warden nodded. Yes. Attorney Blake looked at me. Mrs. Hale, this is good. Not good as in happy, but good as in strong evidence. I took a deep breath. For the first time, I could see a path out of the darkness. But the danger was not over. That evening, while I waited, a guard came to my cell and said, You have another visitor. My heart sank again. Who? I asked. The guard frowned. A man says he is your son's attorney. Attorney Blake was not there at that moment. He had stepped out to file paperwork. My instinct screamed. This was the trick. They wanted me alone. They wanted me scared. They wanted me to sign something. I remembered the warden's warning. Do not sign anything. Do not speak without counsel. I stood up and said firmly, no interview without my lawyer present. The guard looked irritated. He says it's urgent. I lifted my chin. Then he can wait. Minutes later, Attorney Blake returned. When I told him, his face hardened. He walked out to the hallway, spoke to the attorney, and came back with a cold look. That was not an attorney, he said. My blood turned cold. What was he? A fixer, Attorney Blake replied. A man used to scaring people into signing. This confirms how desperate they are. Then he said something that made my heart hammer again. Mrs. Hale, we need to secure your home immediately. If your son empties it tonight, evidence and your personal records could disappear. I whispered, but I'm here, I can't protect it. Attorney Blake looked at the warden. We need a legal hold, tonight. The warden nodded slowly. I can contact a judge. I stared at my ring again. Tonight, you will understand. I understood now. The ring was not magic. It was a reminder that doing the right thing could still open doors, even in a dark place. But the biggest question remained. Would we reach my house in time, before Eric and Dana took everything that could prove their lies? The next morning, everything moved fast. Attorney Blake returned early with news. The judge approved a temporary order. Your son and his wife are not allowed near your property until the hearing. I exhaled, but relief was short. Will they obey? He looked at me seriously. People like that obey only when consequences are near. The warden arranged something I did not expect. He secured a supervised escort, not because he was bending rules, but because he was ensuring legal procedure was followed properly. A deputy and a court officer would accompany Mr. Ruiz, the lawyer who had reviewed my documents, to my home to secure items and prevent tampering. I was still in custody, but my rights were moving. That afternoon, Ms. Carter returned with paperwork. Mrs. Hale, you are being released on a temporary hold pending review, not because your case is closed, but because the complaint has irregularities. I nearly cried. When they removed the handcuffs, my wrists felt sore and strange, as if my body had not accepted what happened. I walked out slowly, breathing fresh air like it was new. Attorney Blake drove me home. The ride was quiet. My mind kept replaying everything. Eric's smile, Dana's laugh, the cell door closing, Emily's shaking voice. When we reached my street, I saw a moving van. My heart dropped. It was parked near my driveway. I pointed. That's my house. Attorney Blake's eyes narrowed. Stay in the car. But I could not sit still. I opened my door and stepped out. 2 men were carrying a box from my porch. Dana stood near the van, holding a clipboard, giving orders like a manager. Eric stood beside her, tense but committed, like he had already crossed a line and could not turn back. When Dana saw me, her face went pale for a second. Then she forced a smile. Oh, look who is out. Eric's eyes widened. Mom. I walked forward slowly. What are you doing at my house? Dana lifted her chin. We are collecting what belongs to us. I stared. You mean stealing? Eric stepped forward quickly, like he wanted to soften it. Mom, calm down. We're just securing valuables while this legal mess is sorted. Legal mess. His words sounded like a stranger's. Attorney Blake stepped beside me. Mrs. Hale has a court order. You are not permitted to remove anything. Dana laughed sharp. Show me. He held out the document. Dana glanced at it, her smile slipping. She tried to hide it, but panic flashed in her eyes. Eric swallowed. Dana. Dana's voice turned hard. This is not finished. At that moment, a court officer arrived with Mr. Ruiz. The officer spoke clearly. Step away from the property, now. One of the movers stopped mid-step. The other put the box down quickly, suddenly nervous. Dana tried to argue. This is a family issue. She is confused. We are helping. Mr. Ruiz stepped forward and said calmly, the court will decide. You are in violation of an active order. Eric's face tightened. He looked at me, and for a moment I saw something in him. Not love, not guilt, just fear of losing. Dana leaned close to him and whispered something I could not hear. Eric straightened his shoulders like a soldier receiving orders. He turned to me. "Mom, if you fight us, you'll regret it." I felt sadness, deep and heavy. "Eric, you already chose regret. You just don't feel it yet." Dana snapped at the movers. "Get back in the van." The movers hesitated. The officer stepped forward again. "Leave now." They left. When the van pulled away, Dana leaned out of the passenger window and shouted, "This is not over, old woman." My hands shook, but I stood tall. We entered the house. Inside, drawers were open. Closet doors were wide. My living room looked like a storm had passed through. They had searched. Dana was not only greedy, she was hunting. Mr. Ruiz walked with me, pointing to places that looked disturbed. They were looking for documents. I swallowed. My husband had a metal box. Attorney Blake looked at me. "Where?" I led them to the closet in the bedroom. I reached up to the top shelf. The box was gone. My stomach dropped. They took it. Mr. Ruiz's face hardened. Then we must reconstruct what it was. My knees felt weak. I sat on the bed. Attorney Blake spoke softly. "Mrs. Hale, do you recall anything about it? A label, a lock, a key?" I swallowed. It had a small key. James kept it in his tool drawer. I hurried to the garage, opened the tool drawer, and searched with shaking hands. The key was still there. That meant something. If they took the box without the key, they might not have opened it yet, or they might have forced it. Either way, they had it. And if the box held proof, they would try to destroy it. That night, I could not sleep. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the key, my ring, and the silence around me. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Give up, or we make your granddaughter pay." My blood turned to ice. They were now using Emily. My hands trembled so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. Attorney Blake had warned me, people like this escalate. I called him immediately. His voice turned sharp the moment I read the message. "Do not respond. We will report it as witness intimidation." I whispered, "They have no limits." He answered, "Then neither can we. Tomorrow, we go for full protection and a criminal investigation." I stared at my ring again. My husband's ring. The key. The message. And then, outside my window, headlights flashed across my wall. A car had stopped in front of my house. A door opened. Footsteps moved toward my porch. And someone knocked. Slow. Confident. Like they own the night. I did not open the door. I stood in the hallway, holding my phone, listening. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. The knock came again, slow and steady. Then a voice spoke through the door, smooth and calm. "Mrs. Hale, it's me, Warden Briggs." I blinked, shocked. "Warden." "Yes," he said. "Open the door. You are not in danger from me." I hesitated, then checked through the peephole. It was him, alone, hands visible, calm. I opened the door slightly. He stepped back politely. "May I come in?" I nodded and opened wider. He entered and looked around at the disturbed house. His expression tightened. "They searched." "Yes," I said. "They took the metal box." He nodded, like he expected it. "Then we have to move quickly." He sat at my table and placed a folder down. "Mrs. Hale, after last night I made calls, proper calls, to the right offices." I swallowed. "Why are you helping me this much?" He looked at my ring. "Because my father owed your husband. And because what your son is doing is not just family cruelty, it is criminal abuse of the system." He opened the folder. Inside were printed records, names, timestamps, and notes. "The officer who arrested you," he said, "has been placed under review. We have proof the complaint was pre-drafted. Also, the man named Troy, the one Emily mentioned, works as a clerk who has access to filing systems." My stomach turned. So they had inside help. "Yes," he replied. "And that is why they moved fast. They wanted you too scared to fight." I stared at my hands. "They threatened my granddaughter." Warden Briggs's eyes hardened. We have already placed a protective alert for Emily through the proper channels. She is with a safe adult tonight. Relief hit me so hard I nearly cried. Thank you. He raised a hand slightly. Do not thank me yet. The most important part is coming. He pointed at the key on my table. That key, what is it for? The box, I said. My husband kept it. He told me to give it to the right person. Warden Briggs nodded slowly. I think I know what it might be. My mouth went dry. What? He looked straight at me. Years ago, your husband worked on a car tied to a corruption investigation. He did not like bragging, but he did keep records. There were rumors he held copies of something that could protect him if powerful people came after him. I stared. James never told me that. He probably wanted you safe, the warden said. But Dana and Eric may have learned pieces, maybe through old conversations, maybe through snooping. I whispered, so they think the box has something valuable. Yes, he said, and to greedy people, evidence is valuable. My throat tightened. If they open it, they will destroy it. The warden nodded, which is why we are going to retrieve it. I blinked. How? He slid another paper toward me. A search authorization request is in motion. If the box is being used for evidence tampering or witness intimidation, it becomes part of an active investigation. My hands shook. Do you think they still have it? He answered carefully. Yes, people like Dana do not throw away a box until they confirm what is inside. I took a deep breath. So what do we do tonight? Warden Briggs stood. Tonight, you stay inside. You lock your doors. You do not step outside for any reason. Tomorrow morning, we move with investigators. I nodded, even though impatience burned in me. Okay. Before he left, he looked at me and said something that felt like a life lesson wrapped in simple words. Mrs. Hale, family love should never require you to surrender your dignity. When someone tells you to give up your rights for peace, they are not offering peace. They are offering control. After he left, I sat alone again, staring at my ring. The ring was simple, but it carried my husband's quiet strength. It reminded me of who I was before fear tried to shrink me. The next morning, Attorney Blake arrived early with 2 investigators. They went to Eric and Dana's home first. I waited at my house, hands clasped, praying. Hours felt like years. Then Attorney Blake called. His voice was steady. Mrs. Hale, we recovered the box. My chest tightened. Is it intact? Yes, he said. It was hidden in their garage inside a toolbox. Tears ran down my face. Thank God. He continued. Dana tried to claim it was trash. Eric tried to say he never saw it, but we have evidence now. The box was moved from your home after the court order. That is criminal. I whispered, what was inside? Attorney Blake paused. We opened it with the key you provided. Inside were copies of old documents, recordings on a small drive, and a letter from your husband. A letter. My breath caught. He said, the letter is addressed to you. We will bring it. When they arrived, I held the letter like it was fragile glass. My husband's handwriting filled the page. Maggie, if you are reading this, it means trouble found you. I am sorry. I tried to keep it away. The things in this box are proof of wrongdoing I once witnessed. I kept them not for revenge, but for protection. If someone tries to steal from you using the law as a weapon, give this to a lawyer you trust. And remember, the truth is stronger than fear. I cried quietly, the way you cry when love reaches you from the past. Attorney Blake explained the rest in simple terms. The documents and recordings supported an investigation tied to old corruption. It also showed my husband's connection to people who could verify authenticity. Dana had been hunting for it, thinking it could be sold or used as leverage. Instead, it became the thing that destroyed her plan. That week, the court hearing came. Eric and Dana sat on one side. I sat on the other with my lawyer. Eric looked smaller than I remembered. Dana still tried to look proud, but her eyes were restless. She knew the ground was breaking under her lies. Emily testified, voice shaking but clear. She told the truth. The bank records were reviewed. The complaint irregularities were exposed. The attempted fake guardianship was flagged. The threats were submitted. The moving van incident was documented. The stolen box was proven. The judge's voice was firm. This court finds clear evidence of coercion, attempted fraud, and abuse of process. Dana's face went pale. Eric opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but no words came. The judge continued. A restraining order is granted. A criminal investigation is referred, and the property remains solely in Mrs. Hale's name. My knees nearly gave out from relief. Dana was removed from the courtroom when she began shouting. Eric sat down with his head in his hands. After court, Eric tried to approach me in the hallway. "Mom," he whispered, eyes wet, "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I looked at him with sadness, not rage. "Eric, it went as far as your choices took it." He shook his head. "Dana pushed me." I answered simply, "A pushed man still chooses where he steps." He started crying. "Can you forgive me?" I took a slow breath. Forgiveness is not the same as trust. That is another lesson people learn too late. "I can forgive you," I said, "but trust must be earned back with time and truth, and you will face the consequences of what you did." He nodded, broken. Weeks later, Dana faced charges. The officer involved faced review. Troy was investigated. The system, for once, began to clean itself, even if slowly. Emily moved back with her mother for a while and started counseling. She hugged me one day and whispered, "Grandma, I'm proud you didn't give up." I held her close. I didn't give up because you spoke the truth. And that is the lesson I want anyone listening to remember. Do not sign things you do not understand, even for family. Do not confuse control with love. Do not let fear make you silent. And when someone uses the law to steal your life, you do not hide. You fight with truth, with evidence, and with people who will stand with you. As for the warden's whisper, I understand it now. Tonight you know. It was never a threat. It was a promise. A promise that the people who laughed at me in my worst moment had no idea who they were dealing with. Not because I was powerful, but because truth, when held firmly, is stronger than any cell door.